So let's talk about some of the risks with Ethereum. One of the first things investors need to be aware of is how new and nascent this technology is, especially when it comes to Ethereum. For example, one of the main co-founders and developers of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, recently stated after Ethereum went through a major code upgrade known as the merge, that he still only estimates 55% of Ethereum's network and code is complete. So after 7 years, this gives you an idea of how far they've come and how far they still intend to go with changes and upgrades to the code. The other thing to note is that while we're going to highlight a few main risks that we see, there's still many more, and investors, of course, need to do their own due diligence. So one of the first risks that we're focusing on is scalability. There's an idea with blockchain called the blockchain trilemma, where with these distributed and decentralized systems, the three characteristics you want are decentralization, security, and scalability. But the blockchain trilemma says you can only emphasize two, not all three. And any third characteristic that you want to emphasize is necessarily going to come at an engineering cost from one or the other two characteristics. So in terms of Ethereum, scalability is still something that they're working on. The recent code upgrade, known as the merge, was not yet meant to address scalability. And so we could still see scalability issues with Ethereum, where if the network becomes congested, fees could rise. And in the future, while they intend to address the scalability issue, it's not clear what kind of trade-offs will be made. The second risk is the token issuance schedule for Ether. Remember, Ether is the native token that resides on the Ethereum network and is used to make transactions and run these decentralized applications. With the Ethereum token issuance schedule and the recent upgrade known as the merge, the issuance dropped by 90%. And because a little bit of Ether is burned with every token made on the Ethereum network, some people believe that Ether will actually become deflationary, or the supply will actually shrink rather than grow. Now, this has led to the narrative that Ether will become ultra-sound money. However, we think that while one aspect of sound money is the inflation schedule, you don't want too much inflation, the other aspect of sound money is the issuance schedule itself. How knowable is it? And how enforceable is it? And so it still remains to be seen whether the current Ether schedule will remain for years in the future or whether it's going to change as it has in the past. And then finally, the third risk we want to highlight is centralization risk. So again, with the recent upgrade known as the merge, more questions are arising about how centralized the Ethereum network is and how centralized it could become. Again, going back to the blockchain trilemma, if the Ethereum network begins to emphasize things like scalability, will that come at a cost of centralization? And why this is a big deal is because if a network becomes more centralized, it means fewer people will be able to control it, and you might make trade-offs in terms of how open, permissionless, or how censorship resistant the network becomes. So again, these are just a few of the risks, but every investor will need to do their own due diligence when looking at Ethereum as an investment, which is what we're going to talk about in the next video.